Okay, hey, welcome back to No Way. Tell me everything. My name is Jess. I am your host. Today I have with me a guest that I'm super excited to have on. I'm honestly so stoked that you agreed to be on here. I feel like I was totally shooting my shot when I sent that message to you. But I have Chloe McComb with me, who is a Northern Ireland Paratriathlon Paralympian. I think that's the whole mouthful. And I had the pleasure of somehow meeting you on Instagram. I don't really remember how we connected, but we connected and I was like, holy shit, a Paratriathlete Paralympian is following me. This is insane. And then I started seeing a lot of your posts and I was just really inspired by the things you were posting and how vulnerable and open you were about mental health as an athlete. And so I'm just really excited that you were willing to be here with us today and talk. So without further ado, welcome, Chloe. Why don't you do your actual introduction of who you are?
I mean, that was pretty good, to be fair. My name's Chloe McComb. I'm from Northern Ireland and I'm a visually impaired paratriathlete. I was at Paris Paralympics last year, so yeah, I'm a Paralympian, which still feels weird to say. Like, I just can't quite believe that it's a thing. But yeah, I get to represent Ireland on an international level, just swimming, cycling and running around the place. So it's pretty cool.
It is super, super cool. I mean, I live in Denmark. We bike everywhere. So I was biking and I was biking today and I knew I was going to speak to you. And as I was biking, I was like, wow, like this is a 20-minute bike ride. And I'm like, I can't imagine doing a freaking triathlon. It's freaking incredible. And I don't like to do a lot of research on my guests because I want it to stay really conversational. But when I was just looking up a few things, I found out that you're a twin and your twin is also a paratriathlete. Yes. What you are? What you
Yes.
do? That's
Yeah.
crazy.
Yeah.
How proud of
Yeah,
your
it's
parents.
stressful.
I mean, do you guys
Yeah,
train
no,
together?
we have different coaches, so
Okay.
we train together, but we're doing different sessions just because otherwise everything would turn into a race, and that's not ideal.
Right. Okay. Yeah. I don't have any siblings, but I've heard things about how siblings can get quite competitive with each other. So I believe you. I
Yeah.
believe you. Yeah. So what first drew you to the triathlon? I mean, that's an intense, sport to pick. And how did you know that this is what you wanted to pursue at, a professional level?
Yeah, like people ask me that a lot. Like, how did you get into triathlon? And honestly, like the truthful answer is it was by accident. So I wasn't overly sporty at school. I did a bit of karate, but that was sort of as much as I did. And then whenever I got to university, I did rugby and rowing and like really, really enjoyed rowing. I like kept doing that after university and just really, really enjoyed it. And then like something came up on social media and it was about like the Paralympics. Do you want to be a Paralympian? There's like a day in Dublin where you can see all the different kind of sports and see what you can get involved in. And yeah, just started chatting to a guy from Triathlon Ireland and he was like, can you swim? Can you cycle? Can you run? To which I was sort of like, I mean, I can run, but like the other two are sort of questionable. But yeah, he invited me along to a training day. Yeah, that was sort of like 2017, I think, and sort of the rest from that is just sort of history. I just fell in love
Wait,
with it.
sorry, hold on. That was 2017 and you went to the Olympics last year?
Yeah,
I was expecting to ask you all these questions about, how you've been training since the age of like 4 or something. And you
yeah,
literally,
yeah,
wow, that's a crazy ride. Has that been
yeah, it's
intense?
been, yeah, like I suppose sort of from 2017 up until maybe 2021, it was sort of like I was winging it. Like I was just sort of muddling through. And then I suppose sort of over COVID, everything was sort of shut down and stuff. So I had nothing else to do. So I was like, right, well, let's start training properly and sort of figuring that out. And then 2021 was whenever I first sort of started doing international races representing Ireland. And then that's when it sort of all took off. Like, shit, I might actually be kind of good at this and sort of got the right guide to go around. Because as a visually impaired paratriathlete, I have to do the whole race with a guide.
Mm.
So yeah, found her and just we clicked and it just went from there. It's insane whenever I actually
I
start
really
talking
feel
about it.
like I think you might be one of the only people who had like a positive outcome from the COVID situation where you were
Yeah,
like, "Oh, COVID helped me become an Olympian," and everyone else is like, "I got addicted to Instagram." This is That's a
yeah,
great story. Wow. That's super intense, but obviously, I mean, it's worked out really well for you and you really like doing that, right? So that was a great,
yeah,
that's
yeah,
such a great everyone who listens to my podcast knows that like I don't believe in coincidences and I think like God, the universe, your guides, whatever you believe in, like leads you towards things and just like the story you
yeah.
told, it just feels so much like that. Like you were just meant to do this and all these little things happen to be like, "Hey, you should do this."
Mhm. Yeah, definitely. Like whenever I think back about it, everything just sort of like you're sort of like, there's no way that happened by like it definitely was all planned sort of thing. Like, yeah.
Yeah, yeah, totally. I love that. I just love those kind of stories. I think that's so amazing. So obvious, like when I'm thinking I'm not an athlete, but I'm thinking in my mind that like, if you're doing like a 200-meter track run, like that's all you do. Training is just different things related to that. But if you're a triathlete, like training, you got to train for basically three different sports. What is
Yeah.
that like? That must require a lot of dedication on your part. So fantastic work for you on that one. But also like how do you train? Like what's a day like? Do you train all the time?
Yeah, like it is sort of full on like 7 days a week, but like I suppose that's one of the benefits of triathlon is that it is 3 sports. So like you get that variety.
Mm, yeah.
But yeah, Monday through Friday, I'm swimming every morning. I really dislike swimming. Like swimming is my least favorite. Which is why I'm so glad it's at the start of a triathlon because it's kind of like once you get the swim done, like then I'm sort of like, right, race mode is on now. I would swim 5 days a week and then sort of the rest of the day is either like a bike or a run, but it's all sort of various intensities. So sometimes it would be like a speed run where it's really, really tough, or else it would just be like a nice easy run where like I have a couple of friends who run as well, so I try and organize to meet up with them and just like chat the whole time. And it's really good, or else just throw on a podcast or audiobook or something and just like I don't want to say get lost because I don't mean like I physically get lost while I'm running, but like zone out and just chill.
That's part of the reason I stopped running because I would get lost every time, but it's because I don't like running. I'm not an athlete. And so I was training for a bunch of half marathons, and the only way I could get myself to do it was to run away from my house so that I had to run back.
Yeah.
And so I would do that, but then like sometimes I wouldn't want to go the same way there and back, and
Mhm.
I would try to go a different way and I'd get lost. Like I one time legitimately, I think I was only supposed to run like 15K. I ended up running a full half marathon by accident because I took the wrong turn and I ended up running 22 kilometers. And so yeah, that now I don't do that anymore. I'm done now.
I mean, fair play. Like I definitely would have like rang an Uber or something like well before that.
Yeah. But Ireland is one of my absolute favorite countries in the whole world. I have not been to Northern Ireland, but I assume it's very beautiful, like the other parts of
Yeah, it's
Ireland that
similar.
I've been
Yeah.
to. Do you do a lot of the training outdoors all year?
I would run outside and then if I can get someone, I do the bike part on a tandem bike. So if I can get someone to go on the front of the tandem, then yes. If not, it's mostly indoors, which in fairness, the weather in Ireland, it's no bad thing to be training indoors because the weather can be horrendous.
Yeah. Yeah. It's a mixed bag every time I've been there. Like I love it. I love that country. It's so beautiful and the people are amazing. I mean, I'm just like sitting here basking in your accent too. I love an Irish accent. My friend
I'm just
Louise, if
glad
you're
you can
listening.
understand me.
Oh my God, yes. Well, you probably don't know this about me, but I do a very bad regular Irish accent that my friend Louise from Dublin tells me sounds like a screwed up leprechaun. So I'm not gonna do it because I feel like it's probably offensive. But yes, I can understand what you're saying. It's totally lovely.
That's good.
I think it's a lovely accent. What was the most memorable moment for you during the Paris Paralympics? Because you said that was your first Olympics or Paralympics, right?
Yeah,
Yeah, so
yeah.
like either in the competition, out of the competition, what was the one thing for you that was like shining moment?
Ooh. Okay, right. I'll do one like within the race and then one like outside. So like outside the race, it was just sort of like the Paralympic Village. is just incredible. Like, number one, everything's free, so, like, that's great, but it's also, I suppose it was okay for me because we don't get sort of, like, weighed and stuff for sports, but, like, the sports where, like, there's weight classifications probably had a horrible time because there was so much food and you could just take what you wanted. Um, but yeah, like, that was really cool, and just everybody was so friendly. Like, everybody was obviously competing against each other, but, like, everybody took time to talk to everybody, and if somebody was coming in and they had a medal, like, everybody was congratulating them. It didn't matter what country they were from. Everybody was like, if they saw the medal, they were like, absolutely amazing, well done. And like that was just so lovely. And then sort of I suppose in the Irish block of flats, like everybody was just really friendly. Like we would have met up in sort of like the lounge area and watched everybody. If they were out competing, we would have watched them on the TV if we couldn't get to the actual venue and just cheered them on together as a team. And it was just like, yeah, it was just such a lovely, friendly atmosphere. And you were just sort of in like a wee bubble. Like outside
Yeah.
world didn't matter. Like I couldn't tell you what went on in the news those, like,
What
2 weeks that I
That's
was out
lovely.
there because you
It's a
just
lovely
didn't
world to live
think of
in.
it, which
Yeah.
was yeah, was great. I suppose the race itself, paratriathlon isn't the kind of sport where it's overly well known. So, like, normally at races, there's no crowds, there's maybe a couple of people standing at the finish line sort of, like, clapping you home, but, like, Paris was just a wall of sound, which
Mm,
was amazing, but also as a visually impaired person who relies on I rely on my guide to give, like, audio feedback as to what's, like, going on. It was
yeah.
kind of frustrating because it's like, "Sorry, I can't hear you over the crowds, like, it's amazing, but, like, what direction are we going?"
Yeah.
But it was wow. The fact it was sort of people from, like, all different countries as well still cheering you on. Like, there was French people shouting, like, "Go Ireland!" And it was just like, should you not be cheering for
No,
the
that would have
French
been me.
people? But
I would have been doing that too. I think that's such a
yeah.
lovely sentiment because, like, speaking of the news and all of the crap going on all the time, like, people get so stuck in, like, which country you're in and which country you're from, so it's actually extremely
Mhm.
lovely to hear that even in an environment where you're actually competing, that people were just so like, when you were talking about everybody just being excited for the medals, I mean, obviously, you're around people who know the dedication that goes into this sport and being an athlete, which is something that I can't imagine an everyday person like me really understands. So that must be nice to be around people who can understand all of the work that you're putting in, and then for them to appreciate that and clap for you. That sounds like amazing.
Yeah. I never actually thought of it like that. That sort of it was just sort of everybody understood what it meant to even be there. It's just yeah.
That is so lovely. I love that. But yeah, I mean that's the other thing with noise and stuff. I feel like that's something that people don't always think about and understand in an everyday world. Like how what everyone's like, oh, we're clapping, and you're like, hey, I super appreciate it, but I actually can't hear what I need to hear right now. Like it's great, but you know, it's like there's so many times like that where I feel like as a person without I have neurodiversity, so I understand living in a world that wasn't built for you in a way in terms of how my brain works.
Yeah.
But there's so many things for people with disabilities where people who are able don't think about it. And there was one time I was at an opera that was outdoors, and they had lights above the portaloo so that you could see if it was red or green. And I'm just standing there waiting, and there was a guy behind me with his daughter, and his daughter was telling him which ones were occupied. And he was like, "Yeah, as a colorblind person, they couldn't have picked two worse lights to tell me if," and I was like, "Oh my god, of course red and green, like that's the most common color
Yeah.
blindness and he can't tell which one's which." But it's things like that, right? Where like whoever was designing it was like, "This is great cuz red means stop and green means go. It's a perfect way."
Yeah.
But they weren't thinking about the fact that for people that are visually impaired or have color blindness or anything, like that's useless.
Yeah.
That's such an interesting thing. In your normal life, obviously, how does your disability affect your daily life?
I suppose it doesn't really affect me that much. Like I was born with the eyesight that I have, so I haven't known anything different. So I've just sort of, I suppose, learned to just get on with things and sort of do things my own way.
Mm,
Whether that's sort of if I'm in a cafe and the menu is behind the counter, I'll sort of get my phone out and take a picture of it and then just zoom in on the phone.
mm.
Or else like look up the menu beforehand, which I feel like is just sort of generally me. Like, I like to have my decision made before I go anywhere. So if I
Hmm.
know I'm going out for dinner, I will be like, I'm definitely getting the chicken, and then just walk in and look at the menu, but already know what I'm getting. Yeah, like it's just little things like that. Like, I suppose growing up in a world, for me anyway, that sort of I felt already like out of place, I always tried to make myself look normal.
Mm.
So I would always try and sort of like nearly hide my disability and just sort of try and get on with life as best I could, just like winging it. I don't know if that's a term that everybody would know, but like just
Yeah.
sort of making it
Yeah.
up.
Yeah, just dealing with what you have to, right? And like
Yeah,
accommodating it. And I think that's really,
yeah,
I have the same thing with, I don't have the same thing. Let me rephrase that. With ADHD, I have similar challenges when it comes to, for example, the way I study or the way I take in information and the way it sticks with me, the
yeah,
way that I do certain things, right? And so what I mean to say is I have similar issues with, for example, when I was in school, I had to find ways to hack the school system to be
yeah.
able to get through school because otherwise I was not
Mhm.
gonna gonna do that. But I think there's been a lot of obviously positive changes. Like I'm nearing 40 now, but I can see from my kids' school, for example, there's a lot more accommodations and changes made for people with disabilities or different ways of learning that we definitely did not have growing up when I
Yeah,
was growing up because of course you learn to hack your life, right? You learn to do what you have to do to succeed and I would say you've obviously hacked it very well. But I mean, there's also the situations where sometimes these little changes make it accessible to everyone, but it's just that people aren't thinking about it. Like designed for, I think there's a lovely saying, I don't know who it's by, but it's about how when you design the world for people with disabilities or neurodiversities, it actually makes everything more accessible to everyone. Like they're talking about, sliding doors and ramps for people who need wheelchair ramps and things like that. But when you do that, it actually makes it easier for everyone because I think there was a great example where they were talking about wheelchair ramps for sidewalks. Anyone who, is elderly or has a suitcase or something heavy, like that also helps them out. So
yeah,
when you design for disabilities, you just make life easier for everyone, and yet we still don't always do that. Like menus
yeah,
very far
yeah,
behind the counter or, you know,
yeah.
whatever.
In fairness, I sometimes regret sort of like trying to hack through life, like trying to find hacks around things, because it's sort of like if I had said something at the time rather than just try and like awkwardly go about it my own way. And like, yes, I managed it in the most difficult way possible, but had I just said something, it probably would have been much handier. They would have changed it and then it would have helped a lot more. But
Yeah.
I'm just really stubborn.
Yeah, and I think, I mean, I've also heard this from my friends with disabilities and for other people with other types of neurodiversities that like, especially as a woman, you want to make yourself smaller. Like I don't want to be an inconvenience. I don't want to, everybody else,
Yeah,
everyone else is fine with everybody else. I don't want to be difficult. So I'll just make a change. But in reality, I think we need to like flip that way of thinking because if we do say something, then they're aware. And not only does it make it easier for us in that moment, but it'll make it easier for someone else later. And this person becomes aware of something, But
yeah,
yeah, but I totally get it. I also have done that so many times. I mean, I also am lactose intolerant. And the number of times that I've just eaten cheese or like cream because I don't want to be like, oh, I'm sorry. Is there cream in this? And my friends are like, just send it back. I'm like, no, I don't know. It's fine. It's fine. I'll be fine. And then I'm
yeah.
just super sick later.
It's like whenever you don't like food in a restaurant and the waiter comes over and it's like, "How are you
Mm,
enjoying your meal?" And you absolutely hate it, but you're just like, "It's lovely, thanks."
yeah.
You're like, "Why
Yeah.
didn't I say something?"
I feel like that maybe is like maybe an Irish thing because in the US we definitely don't do that. Like I used to be a
Really?
server. People would
Okay.
be horrible. You'd be like, "Is everything okay?" And they're like, "Absolutely not. This is my steak is slightly over. I'm not going to eat this. Send it back." It's like, "Well, you've eaten half of it, but okay." I feel like maybe that's a polite Irish thing. You guys, you're so polite over
Yeah.
there. You're so
Like,
sweet.
there's some people do that. Like, there's some people that would, like, be bold enough to say that, but, like, I don't know, maybe it was just the way I was brought up in that, like
Yeah.
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 But also, like, it's a really Irish thing, is not whenever we're finished our meals at a restaurant, and I only discovered this recently that it was just an Irish thing, we stack our plates for the waiters.
Mm-mm.
Like,
Nope, I do that. I do
you do
that.
that too? That's okay.
Mhm. Well, but I don't know, it might
I
be a
can't remember
very
what it
Irish
was.
thing. Hey, listen, you know what it is? My ancestors are Irish, so it just got passed down in my
That's what it
genes.
is. Yeah.
That's what it is. my family came from Ireland, and then they just no, I think it's probably because I was a server for so many years, so I just always
Yeah.
make everything easier. My husband used to make fun of me when we were dating, but now, 18 years later, he also does it. But yeah, I think if you've worked in the service industry, especially in the States where it's very like you basically live off your tips, it's very badly paid.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
feel like when you've worked in the service industry, like my friends and I that used to work together, we also joke because we'll go out to eat and the service will just be abysmal. But we're like, well, we still leaving 20%. There's no way we're not. Like,
Mhm.
we know this person gets $1 an hour. There's no way we're gonna do anything worse than that.
Yeah.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
see, that's why I would fit in so well if I moved to anywhere in Ireland, Northern Ireland or
Right.
Ireland.
Yeah.
I'm
Definitely.
already culturally fitting in. Yeah,
Yeah.
no worries. So I want to talk to you about how vocal and vulnerable as well, because I think it takes a lot of courage to talk about it, but how vocal and vulnerable you've been about your mental health journey while you were at the Paris Olympics, because you've spoken a lot about experiencing depression during the Paralympics in Paris. So what was that like, balancing the pressure of the competition, the weight of that, and all the mental health struggles that must have been extremely difficult?
Yeah, like it's something that sort of it's only recently that I've sort of felt like I could openly talk about. And even then, like absolutely terrifying to post it because a lot of elite athletes and stuff only really post about it whenever they've retired from sport. So like for me to do it now is sort of it's a little bit scary because now I sort of show up to races and people like I they probably don't, but I sort of feel like people are looking at me just like, that's the one that's depressed. And I'm like, but they probably don't. They're probably like, wow. Or at least I hope they are.
I bet they are,
But
yeah.
yeah, Paris was it was wild. Like I sort of said earlier about like how amazing it was, but at the same time it just sort of like I still can't quite believe it happened. And like, it's weird for me to say that I'm a Paralympian because at the time I was just kind of like, I'm just trying to survive the day here. Like, it was incredible, but there was always just sort of nearly just something muted about it. Like, it
Mm.
was sort of like imposter syndrome. And it was also sort of like, I don't know how to describe it. Like everybody was just so buzzing and happy, and like I was putting on this front that I was the same and like, really happy about it. But inside, I was just kind of like numb about it all. I suppose. Like a lot of it was sort of like I suppose I don't think I should be. Like I'm not good enough to be here, and I shouldn't be here. Some of it was sort of as well. Like I don't want to be here just because like the pressure of it all. I was sort of like, there's so much riding on this, and people are sort of like, it's such a it's like they meant well in the lead up to it. They were like, "What an honor, what like a privilege to be there." And it was sort of like, right, you're building this up to be a lot.
Mm.
In terms of sort of like how much I should enjoy this and how much I should take away from it. And I think that sort of got into my head as well. There was just so much going on and sort of nearly just like I can't say that I'm struggling here mentally because everybody's saying how important this is, how much of an honor and a privilege this is. Do you know what I mean? Like it's sort
Yeah,
of I didn't want to downplay it because my brain was just not having it, not okay with it.
yeah. No, I think that makes so much sense. I mean, it's not like your, local K or something. Like, it's huge. And, knowing now that also you only started in 2017, that's a huge, you went really far really fast. So, I mean, that amount of pressure that quickly, like, you don't have the years to build up that tolerance to what it means to be around that. That's just, and yeah, totally. People always mean really well, right? When they're like, what a great opportunity. This is so amazing for you. You're going to represent Northern Ireland. And you're like, yeah, that's great.
Yeah,
You're like, I know you mean well, but this is definitely not helping anything.
yeah,
I
yeah.
totally get it. And it must be really hard to talk about. I think it's so brave that you're talking about it because no offense to anyone else who's talking about it after they retire, but like that doesn't really help the people who are struggling now. Like it normalizes it because you're
Mhm.
definitely not the only one that has those feelings, right? But if everybody's scared to talk about it,
Yeah.
then it's just staying hidden. So I think it's amazing that you're so open about it and talking about it. And I really don't think anyone's gonna look at you and be like, that's depression girl over there. I think that's what we do in our own heads, right? Where we're like, oh God, they must be thinking
Yeah.
this thing. When in reality, they're probably like, oh my God, that's Chloe. She's so brave talking about it. I had the same things. I wish I had somebody that I could talk to, but now I know, like you might find next time that you're at the Olympics, which is that in 4 years? 3 years?
Yeah.
Yeah.
3 years now, yeah.
Yeah. So next time you're there, maybe you're going to find people opening up to you. But you were in Portugal, right? And you placed third, didn't you?
Yeah.
Was that a
Yeah.
qualifier?
Yeah. So there's like different races. So this year it's not really a qualifying race. Sort of this year and next year is kind of, I suppose, chilled out years in
Mm,
that you're really just trying to sort of maintain your position in the world rankings. So your position in the world rankings basically sort of allows you to enter whatever race you want.
hmm
Because if you want to enter a race, they take sort of like whoever's higher up, they'll get better chance of getting in kind of thing. So you just keep racing just to try and keep that up so that whenever it does get to qualifying, which would be 2027, like you can just sort of pick and choose whatever race you want. You don't have to worry about, oh, there's a lot of people trying to get into that race, I won't get in. Whereas if you're higher up in the rankings, you can just sort of be like, I'm doing that race, everybody else can wait, but I'm going in.
Okay, got it. So now I'm getting the inner workings of how these things work. But yes,
Yeah.
great. And congratulations on the third place. I think it's really
Thank
interesting.
you.
It was fun watching that on the stories as you went through all of the, race stuff that going through and then trying to get your bike back with all the shenanigans at the
Yeah.
airport. Everybody you should follow her. Great stories. But yeah, so it was really interesting. But I think it's, everybody deals with low points, right? But I think when you're doing this kind of training, this kind of preparation, you have a lot riding on that one day. Like everything is working up to that
Mhm.
race day, right? So there's also a lot of
Yeah.
probably anxiety and pressure around that whole thing. So you're dealing with like a huge amount of mental load and obviously people I think are pretty normalized now to the fact that being a professional athlete at this level is not just physical strength. There's also, a mental and emotional aspect to it. So you obviously showed up and you performed. So even through all of what you were going through, you did it anyway. How do you emotionally and mentally make sure that you can continue?
I suppose for me, especially sort of this year dealing with everything, it's sort of making it to the start line for me has been enough this year. Like the fact that I've managed to finish every race has also been amazing and to be able to come away with some medals as well. But for me, it's sort of standing on the start line and sort of being like, right, I'm ready to race. I suppose in the past, a lot of it was sort of like there is a lot of pressure because you go into a race, you know who you're racing against, you know who in past races you've beaten, in theory, like on paper, you sort of look at the race and you sort of go, well, I should be able to beat them, them, and them. Them I might get past on the bike. If I don't get past them on the bike, they'll probably beat me. There's just so much going on whenever you get into like the real nitty gritty of a start list. So I try not to do that. I'm just sort of like, you know what? It's going to be me versus me in this race. It's going to be, I'm going to swim as hard as I can. I'm going to bike as hard as I can and run as hard as I can. And if I pass people along the way, great.
Mm.
Um, so I suppose like that's what I've been learning this year, more than anything. And like there's been some times where it has got in my head and that someone's in front of me and I'm like, they should not be in front of me right now. Have the ability to be faster than them. Like I know I should be faster than them. And then just there's days where you just have a shit day. Like, yeah, like it's I suppose the nature of the game in elite sport, it's one day, one race.
I
If
think
you're
that's
having an off
that's
day,
so crazy because
mm,
everyone has off days, but like when I have an off day, it doesn't matter. If you have an off day on a race
yeah,
day, you're just fuck.
yeah.
Not to add to your
Like I
mental
suppose
pressure,
it's
sorry.
those days. Yeah, it's sort of those days where you sort of try and sort of shift the goalposts and that you sort of you come away from a race and you sort of go, well, I didn't perform as well as I wanted to, but you always try and take something positive away from it. Um, even if it's sort of like I did a really good swim or I felt really strong on the bike or something like that. Like there's always something you can learn from every race, no matter where you finish, even if you finish first. I feel like if I ever finish first and sort of go, nah, I don't think I can learn anything from this race. Like that's probably when I will retire, just because like
Yeah.
you should always be learning.
Yeah. I think that's so great. I mean, My daughter plays soccer. It's kind of the same thing as an Olympian, you know? But we teach her the same, mental things of like, because when she started, it was very much about winning and losing. And let me tell you,
Mhm,
kids are hardcore as well. Like there was one time that her
mhm.
team was winning by like 15 points. And I was like, this is honestly a little cruel at this point. Like, shouldn't we stop this? And then my daughter was like, that's just how it is. It's just how it is. And if we were on the other end, then they would have to deal with it. And I'm like, but wouldn't you like them to not feel quite so badly? And she's like, it's life, mom. This is how the sport is. It's like, oh, Jesus. Okay. But
Wow.
we worked with her on being a little bit, chiller about it. But we also talked to her a lot about, you're not going to win every game. And there is always something you can learn when you win, and there's something that you will learn when you lose. And it's more about like, do you enjoy yourself? Are you having fun? And I love what you said about it's like it's you competing against yourself, because ultimately, again, me being the elite athlete that I am, whenever I do anything, I'm also just competing with myself. But that is my goalpost as well, because it's like if I
Yeah,
did slightly better or I learned something from it, or also just with anything, also without, I would honestly, like the way that you're talking, if this were a job interview for like anything, I'd be like hired, because that mental mental mindset, you will do anything, like you'll figure it out, you'll have a great attitude no matter what it is.
yeah. Well, thank you.
You got a bright future ahead of you, kid. Once you're finished with that, after you've gotten first place and you have nothing else to learn, then you can use
Yeah.
all of this in your job interviews. When you're in the village and you're having this really good like atmosphere and talking with everybody, what do you guys talk about? And do you talk about just sports, or do you avoid talking about sports completely because you're like, no, we need to talk about normal things?
Yeah, like, I suppose that was sort of, I suppose, the one downside of, like, the Paralympic Village. Any other race you go to, you're just in, like, a hotel or an Airbnb where you can sort of switch off. You can be a normal person and like go to a restaurant for dinner or go to the supermarket and just wear normal clothes or whatever. Whereas in the Paralympic Village, it was just constantly in your face that you were at the Paralympics. Like there was Paralympic logos everywhere. Like you had to wear a lanyard to say who you were so that you could get in places and stuff, and they knew that you hadn't just like climbed the fence and snuck in. So like it was just in your face the whole time.
Mm,
Whereas other races, like take Portugal, like we sort of the only time we were sort of athletes was at the race venue and at the race briefing. Every other time, like I just put on normal clothes and just walked around and just pretended I was normal
yeah.
and just sort of it meant you could switch off. Like obviously you still sort of I would chat with my guide sort of in the lead up to a race and sort of have sort of a rough race plan, sort of chat through like, is there anything you want to talk about? Is there anything you want to like maybe go over in terms of the race? Do you want to look at the maps again to see where we're going? Like you talk about it a bit, but like generally you try and switch off and just like scroll through TikTok. Like I have a really bad habit of like doom scrolling in the lead up to a race, but it's more just to try and not think about the race.
Mm-hmm. I get that. I have a bad habit of doom scrolling just in life, like a lot of
Yeah.
people.
Well,
So
in fairness, that too. Yeah.
yeah, I was gonna say the difference between our doom scrolling is that you do a race the next day. I just wake up and do it again. But yeah, I mean, I think that makes total sense. I think, you know, everybody has things that they can get quite into and focus on a lot, and it's hard to get out of that headspace. But that's always something that I work really hard on, because I tend to, again, because of my ADHD, I tend to get obsessive about something and I will really go down a rabbit hole and like
Mhm.
stay in there. And I have to really make
Yeah.
sure that I pull myself out, because it's not good for your headspace to be spending too much time in like one specific area. And then I don't know if you have like the same feeling, but like when you're done a race, do you like have this feeling of like almost like looking around like, whoa, okay, I can do something else now, or like I can go, I don't know, like what do you not do when you're leading up to a race? Like I don't drink, but if you drink, is that something that you like you don't do that before a race, but then afterwards you're like, pub.
I suppose some people do that. I haven't found an alcoholic drink that I actually enjoy drinking
Yeah.
yet.
Not even
Not for lack of
Guinness?
trying. Like, no, that is awful.
Yeah, I don't like it either, but I thought that was like a requirement or something. You're like raised on it.
um, I don't think so. I think sort of like we were talking there about like sort of I suppose sort of thinking about things. I am probably the worst triathlete in that I have sort of nearly purposely tried not to learn too much about triathlon and like people and rankings and stats and things like that within the triathlon world just because I know some other triathletes and people that I race against and teammates and stuff and they are just obsessed. Like everything is triathlon, and I'm just kind of like, I will do my training and I will do my racing and just try and leave it there and sort of have a normal life outside of that. And sort of, it's bad in a way because I would sort of bump into people, not because I'm visually impaired, just like meet people. I get chatting to them. They'd be like, "Oh, so what do you do as a job?" And then so like, "Oh, well, I do a bit of triathlon." And like, if my friends are with me, they will completely like rip the arse out of it. They'll be like, "Oh, she just does triathlons. She was in the Paralympics last year." And I'm sort of like,
What are friends for
yes,
if
but
not
like,
for, doing that?
sort of like, I suppose for me, it's kind of like, well, that's not all that I am, if that makes sense. Like, I don't want, like, I'm more than just swim, bike, run,
Yeah.
if that makes sense. Like, I want sort of to have more of a life outside that. I don't really, like, in reality, but like, I like to pretend I do.
But I mean, when you're talking about that, I'm like nodding, like, yeah, that seems extremely healthy. That seems great. I mean, also, you just placed third and you seem to be doing pretty well. So I feel like the strategy's probably working for you with the balance. I feel like there's a risk of burnout when you're so into something and you were talking about how sometimes when you're biking and you're like seeing someone in front of you and you're like they shouldn't be in front of me because of the rankings, like the people who obsess over those rankings, that's probably lives in their head all the time, and when they're done a race they're going like this person, this person, this person, they shouldn't have been in front of me and now I got to go even harder because of this, and you're just kind of like, wee, that was great, I'm going to go back to training but I'm going to have fun. And like that sounds totally healthy. I mean, if you can have the best of both worlds of being a Paralympian or paratriathlete, but also getting to just be Chloe and have a completely other side of your personality, I think that sounds amazing.
Yeah. Yeah. Like, I suppose some people sort of think I'm a bit too, like, I don't know how to say it. Like, I suppose humble, but also like I'm nearly blasé about the fact that like I get to train and travel the world and that's my job. And like I'm always trying to find a balance of that because I am so thankful that like I get to do that as a job. Like I get to wake up and sort of be like, get to swim today and people are going to like a 9 to 5 job and
Ugh,
if I
yeah.
get my training, like if I get myself organized and like train properly and not get distracted by Instagram and stuff, like I can have my training done by just after lunchtime and have the rest of the day just to go home and sleep if I want.
Amazing.
That often doesn't happen. I get distracted so easily, or else I look at the session that I'm about to do and sort of go, you know what, I have to do some washing and the dishes need done and I should probably reorganize my room.
Mhm.
I get very I will procrastinate a lot sometimes in training, but there's other days where I just like hyper focus nearly and just get it all done. But yeah, like I get to do that as a job and I feel like sometimes I'm maybe a bit too passive about how great that is. Because like people would, I know people that sort of are training, sort of where I train in the gym and in the pool. There's people there and they are trying to make it onto the elite scene for Ireland and they're putting so much time and effort and work into it, but they're also having to sort of keep up school or keep up a job at the same time. And it's sort of like, I don't have to worry about that. I can just chill and just do this full time. Whereas you're trying to be like me, but you also have to go to work and
Mhm.
work like an 8 hour day and then get on a bike afterwards. Like yeah, it's sort of hard to find a balance of like being able to sort of be proud of it nearly, but also like not being like, move out of the way. I should be at the front of this line because I've been to Paris Paralympian right here.
But I mean, that's the key, right? There's a difference between being arrogant and just knowing and being
Yeah,
grateful, but also not putting it on a pedestal. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah,
there's just different life
yeah.
circumstances. Like, I would love to be able to play flute really well, but I can practice for the rest of my life. And there's going to be people that pick up the flute and are way better than me immediately. Like, it's just a different life path for different people. I think as long as you're not being a
Hmm.
dick about it, like you go past them and you're
Yeah,
like, Oh my God, have you been training all day? I was done at 12 and then I got to doom scroll TikTok all afternoon. Like, there's a difference. It doesn't sound like you're being a dick about it. So I
Yeah,
think it's okay.
that's good. That's a relief.
Yeah. I think, that's something that I mean, I've seen a lot is people have expectations of how they want you to feel about things that happen to you, like you're not grateful enough for this, or you should recognize the privilege that you have doing this. And I'm like, I do recognize the privilege that I have. Like, for example, like I don't have to earn any money right now, so I'm taking time to just do whatever the fuck I want that makes me happy. And I know that I'm very privileged to be able to do that right now. Like, I absolutely understand that. But I'm also like, I don't feel that I need to, you know, react or puppeteer for you in a certain way so that you feel like better about your situation, that you can't do it. You know what I mean? Like it's this kind of situation where
Yeah.
people project onto you how they feel you should feel about stuff, and it's like that's a you thing. I can feel about it how I want to feel about it. I am grateful. Sounds like that you have an awesome job, and you take it seriously. It's not like you know, go out all the time, don't practice, and then just show up to Portugal and get third, and then you just blow past everybody and you're like, screw you, suckers. Like, that's a difference. Those are the people that we're allowed to not
Yeah.
like.
Yeah. I was gonna say it's one thing I do struggle with at times is that like Portugal, like that was only a couple of weeks ago when I was third, and I suppose with the mix of like not being able to get home because the airport wouldn't take the tandem and stuff like that, like I haven't properly celebrated that I've got third. Like my medal's still sitting in my suitcase over there.
Yeah.
Like I haven't got it out and I haven't celebrated it yet. Like, and I suppose that's something that I never really do. Like I always I suppose part of it is especially if my twin is in the same race as me, like, and if I beat her and I get a medal and she doesn't, it's oh,
Mm.
I feel like I can't celebrate because like she didn't get one. So it's like I feel like that's just ingrained in my head now, and that like people will be like, "Well done, you got third," and I'm sort of like, "Oh, thanks." I'm proud and like I take the time, I suppose, in the moment, like when I'm on the podium and stuff, and like celebrate. It's nearly like whenever I land back in Ireland, I'm kind of like, right, normal person again. Let's get training for the next one. And then sort of people would meet me and sort of like, "Oh, you got a medal," and it's like, "Oh yeah, I did. Yeah." I never know how to respond because I'm sort of like, "Yes."
Yeah.
But like I want to sort of like anytime I do some like talks and stuff with schools, and different things, and like everybody's sort of like, "Oh, are your medals on display in your room?" And I'm like, "No, I keep them in a bag so I can take them around schools and show them to kids." Like, and they're like, "How can you not put them on display?" And I'm like, "Well, I'd rather other people see them and like inspire others than sort of me look at them." Because like I don't know, I just sort of find that sort of quite vain, quite conceited to just sort of every morning wake up and be like, "Oh, there's all my medals." Like I suppose it would maybe sort of encourage you and like motivate you, but for me, I'm just kind of like, "Oh, I couldn't do that. I couldn't do that."
Yeah. Well, I mean, I
I'd
think
rather show them
everybody's
off.
so
Like I think,
different with that, right?
yeah,
I mean, if it doesn't feel natural to you as a person, then of course don't do that. But I think
yeah,
I'm definitely the opposite of that because I feel like we're really bad at celebrating ourselves, and part of that is exactly because you don't
hmm,
want other people to feel bad about themselves. And it's just definitely a tricky situation I can understand with having your twin but I'm sure that she would be happy for anything you do as you would celebrate her, like you were talking about with the other athletes, and maybe it would motivate her. You never know. But I feel like I'm always telling people, like, I'm always really proud of people. And I'm like, that's so amazing. Can't believe you did that. And they're like, yeah, I guess it was okay. And I'm like, stop that. Be proud of yourself. Be loud about it. Like, enjoy what you did. Enjoy how big this step is. Or even if it's something little, like my friend just wrote me today with like, we're working on setting boundaries and she did the smallest thing and I was so excited for her. I'm like, you did it. That's such a good step. I'm so proud of you. And she was like, okay. I'm like, no, it's so good. We have to celebrate the stuff we do. I just think we're really hard on ourselves. And then a
hmm,
lot of times, you know, like I said, if you just don't like doing it because it feels inauthentic to you, then don't do it. Of course, don't hang up your medals just because people tell you should, right? But if you're doing it because of
yeah,
other people, then that's where I'm like, well, I feel like you should do it if it makes you feel good. If you're, Because the
Yeah.
reality is people a lot of the times, like, you're not doing it to be an ass, but you also deserve to enjoy all of the hard work that you put in for training and the results you get out of it. So, what you should do is you should put on your medal that's still in your suitcase and you should go grocery shopping with it and then just casually throw out everywhere that you got third place and then just bask in all this joy. Enjoy it. Just wear it for a full day, just outside your shirt, just hang in there for everyone to see.
Yeah, in fairness, that's what I do after a race, especially if I'm going to the airport. Like I did a race in end of June, I think, or mid-July. Mid-July in Montreal in Canada. We pretty much went straight from the race to the airport and we came third in that race. I was just like, I'm gonna wear my medal in the airport because we just have like economy seats for the way home. Wonder if I wear my medal, will I get a free upgrade? I did not, but I got like extra snacks. But
Okay. Well, you know what? I think sometimes my friends are like, "Oh, I got a free upgrade." And I'm like, "Who's getting free up? I've never gotten a free upgrade and you're
yeah,
not even getting a free
exactly.
upgrade with your medal. Who are these people? What do you have to do to get a free
No.
upgrade
Yeah.
anymore?" Well, at least you got snacks. What were this? Were they good snacks? Because I feel like sometimes they're not good. They're just bad, stale.
I don't even know because I took some sleeping tablets before the flight home because it was like
Nice.
an overnight flight. So
Yeah.
like I was half asleep. Like
Right. So you were just binging
I
snacks
vaguely remember
mindlessly.
breakfast. Yeah, yeah. I remember being woken up for breakfast and sort of being like completely out of it. And like the air hostess like tapped me and I sort of woke up and I was like, what? And she was like, I'm so sorry. Do you want eggs? And I was like, yeah, yes.
You know what? That
I was
makes
just
me
in such a deep
angry
sleep.
just hearing that. Which airline is making eggs in an airplane? That must have smelled horrible. Which airline was this? Flying with them.
I think it's Air Canada.
Oh,
Yeah, but I mean, it was tasty, to be fair.
to
It
be fair.
was I would say it was, like, in terms of all the airplane food, like, it was really good.
All right. All right. I like Canada. I'll give them a pass on the eggs in an enclosed space, but okay. Sounds odd to me, but all right. It's okay. Chloe, it's been so nice
I never
talking to
actually
you
considered that.
about the eggs in a plane. So
Yeah,
this
like,
is the
I
thing.
suppose
I
because
don't
I was,
like
like
flying, so I'm like hyper aware of every little detail about flying. Like I know actually, what's
Mhm.
funny is everyone hates Ryanair. Again, maybe because of my Irish love. Like I love Ryanair. I think they're great. Like
In
fantastic.
fairness, I love Ryanair. They are the ones that got me home from Portugal. No other airline would take the tandem, but Ryanair did, so I was just like,
I mean,
"They're the
EasyJet can
best."
get fucked. I hate EasyJet, but Ryanair
Yeah.
always had a great
Yeah.
experience with them. But I know
Yeah.
all of the airlines. I know like which ones are gonna say that it's Air France, but it's not Air France. It's Eurojet or some crap.
Mhm.
So I also pay attention to
Yeah.
like I can never eat the food on the plane because I'm too sick, but I always know like which ones are gonna have fish, for example. Like if you serve fish on an airplane, you don't deserve to
Yeah.
be in business. And I feel a little bit like that
No.
with eggs as well.
Yeah.
I've never
I
I've
feel like
never
because 'cause I'm
smelled
eating
them,
them,
but
I'm kinda like, I don't think about it. Yeah.
yeah. I think that's the main point there, Chloe, is that you don't think about it. I'm thinking about it. Like, I notice all the things. I'm like, I don't want to fly with
I mean,
that
I think about
airline.
everything else.
Yeah. No, I'm thinking about all the stuff that doesn't matter too. Like, I'm like, well, I do think about
Yeah.
which ones have like the newest airplanes and stuff, but I'm like, I don't like this airline because they don't have the
Mhm.
seat back pockets. And my husband's like, what in the fuck?
Yeah.
He's like, they're cheaper. And I'm like, we're not flying with them. They don't even have seat back pockets.
Yeah.
Who knows how well they take care of their planes? Like, these are all the things that go through my ridiculous head.
I know, like, I'm the same, like, as someone who, like, travels the world to go and race, like, I would rather like, if I could walk there, I would walk. Like, I detest flying. Like, anytime I'm on a plane, I will take sleeping tablets because then I'm like, I don't have to think about, like, all the things you think about when you're terrified of flying. You're
My
just
God.
asleep. That's fine.
That's good that you get sleepy because I imagine you must have to travel quite often. And then you add on to the layers of the fact that you always have, it sounds like you always have problems with your equipment and your bike and stuff. So that's just sounds like
Yeah,
anxiety
I mean,
city.
that's yeah. In fairness, I have an air tag in it, so I'm kind of like I would stress on the way out, especially this year because I sort of haven't had a steady guide. Like you, when you're racing, you want sort of the same guide every time so that you can sort of build up a friendship because they're on the front of a tandem and you're going at like 40, 50 kilometers an hour. like, you have to trust them that they're not gonna, like, crash, essentially. So I've had different guides, and some of those guides work, so they haven't been able to get time off. So we're traveling out 2 days, 1 day before a race, and it's sort of like if the tandem doesn't arrive, we have no time to try and sort anything else. I like to travel out a good few days beforehand so that if anything happens, there's sort of like nearly breathing space where you can sort of be like, it's okay, it hasn't arrived, but
Hmm.
it'll get the next flight and we can get it sorted. But like for me, once it's out of my hands at the airport, I'm kind of like, okay, don't I just try to put it out of my mind until we land. And whenever we land, pulling out my phone and just being like, right, location of AirTag. But like on the way home from a race, I'm kind of like, you know what? I can stay there. That's fine. I don't need it until the next race. I can stay there for 3 weeks and then eventually make it home. I just think my tandem's a real diva in that it doesn't like to travel with me. It likes its own flight.
There you go.
That's just what it seems like this year.
That's what's happening, is it's like, I'm not traveling. I get my own
Yeah.
separate plane. Do you have a different, so wait,
Yeah.
now that you've mentioned this, do you have a different guide for each activity? Like, I know they changed everything, but like, do you have 3 different guides, or do you have like another triathlete as your guide?
Yeah. So it's another triathlete. So they have to be like fitter than me because not only do they have to be able to keep up with me, but they also have to be able to be speaking to me, like especially in the run and sort of being like, right, we're going right up here. There's like cones here. Do you want a drink of water? And I will grab you a drink of water. And it's really frustrating because you're like essentially hyperventilating. Like you can't even formulate a sentence or a word. And they're speaking full sentences, not even out of breath. And it's like, this is not fair. But also, I always think about it. And I've had guides where I'm trying to run and they're more out of breath than I am. And I'm like, which direction are we going? And they're, going.
Yeah.
They're like, it's not helping. So it's good that they're fitter than me. But yeah.
Not that I had any ideas about becoming a triathlete, but now that you've mentioned that, I definitely could never be a triathlete nor a guide, because once I start even a light jog, the ability to talk is out the window. That's not happening. That's crazy. Is it?
In fairness, I can't go up a flight of stairs without being winded. So like, there's different types of fitness.
Sure. I mean, I can get down in the club for like an hour, but I'm not going to be doing any triathlons.
Yeah.
That's true. Thank you for pointing that out. There are different types of cardio fitness. I can twerk like the best of them. If there was a competition, I could totally do that. It would be very cringe because I'm a millennial, but I could do it. I could do it is the point. That is such, now I feel great about myself. Thanks. I have different skills, Thank you so much for being here today with me, Chloe. It's been such a pleasure to speak with you and to hear your story. And when is your next race coming up?
So hopefully there's the World Championships in Wollongong in Australia in 3 weeks' time. Currently still waiting for my federation to organise flights and accommodation and stuff. So hopefully I'm going, but if not, then it'll be next year. But I'm sort of at the stage now where I'm kind of like, whatever happens, happens. I'm just going to try not to stress about it and just, yeah.
Well, I think by the time that
Focus
this
on what I can
episode
control.
comes out, it will be after that race. So that should be interesting, because then when I post it, I can say if you were there or not. But everybody should definitely follow you. Is there anything else that you want anyone to know, or anything?
I don't think so. Just sort of, if there's something that maybe you're thinking about right now listening to this, like that you want to do or you want to say to someone, like I'm always the type of person that I'm like, oh, I should send that person a message, but I don't want it to be weird. This is your sign right now. Like, send the message, do the thing, give it a go.
Love that.
Just go for it.
Yes. Chloe, great. Love that. Yes. Do it. If you're thinking about it, do it. I always also say that. I'm like,
unless it's illegal.
Unless it's illegal or it's going to harm people. Thank you. We have to say those things. But if it's just like something that,
just in case,
or if it's like a toxic ex, don't write that person if you're thinking about it.
Yeah.
But everything else,
absolutely not.
Everything else, go do it. Do the thing. Yes. Start becoming a triathlete. Not when you're in your middle age, because I feel like that's another thing that happens. I see a lot with people in my age group, especially men, is they suddenly are like, you know what I could do? A triathlon. And I'm like, okay, sure. do that. But, just do the thing. Do the thing is what I mean to say. Thank you for the lovely advice, Chloe. I think everybody should do that. Thank you all for listening today. I hope you enjoyed the episode. Make sure to follow Chloe and make sure to rate and follow the podcast and share it with friends because it really helps me get it out there for everybody. I appreciate you all, and I will talk to you again soon. Bye-bye.